You ever look at someone and feel your stomach drop? Like you suddenly realize you don't know who they are anymore? That was me, standing outside my condo in Chicago, freezing wind cutting through my coat, holding a bottle of cheap Merlot and pretending I still trusted the man inside. My name's Lauren Pierce, and that night, everything I believed about love, loyalty, and safety cracked wide open. Mason had texted, "Working late, client dinner." Sure he was. The city was quiet, too quiet, like it knew something I didn't. When I opened the door, the smell hit first. Perfume, not mine. Expensive, sweet and heavy. My chest tightened. He was sitting on the couch, shirt half buttoned, laptop glowing like some kind of cover story. "Hey babe, you're early," he said with that fake easy smile. "Yeah," I murmured. "Guess I am." He kept talking, voice smooth, hands restless. "Good news, Lo. The Westtown project's approved. We made it." We. That word suddenly felt like a joke. He poured wine, clinked my glass. "To us." I lifted it, but my eyes were on the burgundy lipstick stain on his cuff. Not my color. He didn't notice. He never did. On the table sat a folder with my name printed neat across the front. "What's that?" I asked. "Routine paperwork," he said too fast. "Just sign where I marked. Partnership stuff." I opened it. Numbers wrong. Clauses off. Then the line that turned my blood to ice. Guarantor. Lauren Pierce. My name tied to every loan. Every debt. He was shifting assets, setting me up as collateral. I looked up slow. "So this is what partnership means?" "Come on, don't be dramatic," he said, laugh tight. "No," I whispered. "It's betrayal dressed like business." He stepped closer. "You don't trust me?" "I did," I said. "That was the problem." He tried to touch my hand. I pulled back, slid the folder into my tote. "I'll sign after my lawyer checks it." He froze. "Lawyer? Really?" "You already made it legal, Mason." He muttered something about loyalty, but I was done listening. I could feel the air change, the kind that warns you a storm's coming. I walked to the bedroom, heart pounding, phone buzzing in my hand. One new text, unknown number. "You don't know me, but you need to call me tomorrow. About Mason." Chicago area code. I stared at it until my screen dimmed. Whoever it was, they knew. They knew. Mason came to bed later, knocked out like he hadn't just built a lie around my name. I lay there wide awake, listening to the radiator hiss like it was whispering secrets. People think betrayal hits fast. It doesn't. It drips. Quiet, patient, waiting for you to stop pretending. And that night, I finally did. Morning light hit different when you know the truth. It doesn't wake you. It exposes you. I barely slept. My phone still showed that unknown number, the one that said, "Call me tomorrow, about Mason." My mind kept replaying it like a song I didn't want to hear. By 8 a.m., I sat in my car outside a coffee shop downtown, hands tight around my cup, staring at that number. One call. Just one. I hit dial. A woman's voice answered, calm, firm. "Lauren Pierce?" "Yes." "This is Detective Anna Cruz. I think we should meet." "Detective." That word made my chest tighten. We met at a small diner near the river. She was mid-30s, dark hair pulled back, eyes that had seen too much. She slid a file across the table. "You know Mason Porter, correct? He's my fiancé." "Right," she said quietly. "And your name's on 3 property filings tied to his company. But here's the issue. Those properties don't exist." I blinked. "What do you mean they don't exist?" She opened the file. Photos, maps, empty lots, no permits, just paper and lies. "Mason's been moving investor money through dummy projects. He listed you as guarantor." Everything blurred. The smell of burnt coffee, the chatter, the cold spoon in my hand. "So what happens now?" "Depends," she said. "You want to be his alibi or his witness?" That hit hard. She slid her card over. "Think carefully, Ms. Pierce. He's not just cheating you. He's using you. Then she left. I stared at the card, the letters Chicago PD glinting in the morning light. My stomach turned. I felt stupid, angry, small. But underneath all that, I felt something new. Resolve. That evening, Mason came home humming, jacket over his shoulder. "Yeah, baby, the numbers look clean. Don't worry." He froze when he saw me sitting in the dark, file open on the counter. "What's that?" "Nothing you'd understand." He laughed nervously. "You've been snooping again?" "No," I said softly, "just waking up." He stepped closer. "You don't want to play this game, Lo. You started it." His eyes hardened. "You think anyone will believe you? You're tied to me on every form. You go down, I go down. Difference is," I whispered, "I've got help now." He stared, confused. I picked up the file, walked past him and said, "Don't wait up." That night I drove through the city, bridges glowing, lake wind in my hair. I parked by Navy Pier, staring at the skyline. Chicago looked beautiful and cruel at once. I texted Detective Cruz, "I'll testify, but I'm doing it my way." Then I turned off my phone and let the silence sink in. For the first time in years, I wasn't scared of what came next. I was ready to burn every fake foundation he built, one truth at a time. They say the truth sets you free. But first, it burns everything that kept you safe. The next few days felt like walking through smoke. Mason acted normal, like we were still the picture-perfect couple, the architect and the artist. But every word out of his mouth felt rehearsed, every smile timed. He started asking where I'd been, who I'd talked to. I lied. Smooth, casual lies that tasted bitter. "Just errands," I'd say, or "met with a client." I could tell he didn't buy it, but he wanted to believe he still had control. At night, I'd sit by the window, city lights flickering against the glass, wondering when the mask would finally crack. Chicago never really sleeps. It just hums, restless, waiting for secrets to spill. Then one morning, I got a message from Detective Cruz. "We're ready when you are." Simple words, but they felt heavy as hell. I stared at them, thumb hovering over the screen. Ready? Maybe not. But done pretending? Absolutely. I told Mason I had a meeting downtown. He kissed my cheek like it meant something. I drove straight to the station. Inside, Cruz walked me through everything. Statements, documents, evidence logs. "You sure about this?" she asked. I nodded. "I'm sure." She smiled faintly. "Good. Because once we start, there's no going back." Later that night, I got home to find him sitting in the dark, drink in hand, jaw tight. "You've been quiet," he said. "Guess I'm thinking," I replied. "About what?" "About trust," I said softly. He stood, eyes sharp. "You're not gonna ruin me, Lauren." I almost laughed. "You already did that yourself." His hand twitched, not a hit, but close enough to make my body flinch. He noticed, smirked. "You think the cops will protect you? You think they care?" I met his stare. "I don't need protection, Mason. I need proof." He froze, realizing I'd flipped it. "I know about the dummy accounts," I said, "and the investors. You dragged my name into it, but I'm walking out clean." He stepped forward, whispering, "You won't." I stepped closer, too. "Watch me." He stormed out, slamming the door so hard the picture frames rattled. The silence afterward was loud enough to make my heartbeat sound like thunder. I didn't cry. I didn't shake. I just grabbed my keys, my bag, and left. I drove until I hit the edge of the city, the industrial side near the river, where no one cared who you were. I parked under a flickering streetlight and sat there breathing cold air until my hands stopped shaking. Then I texted Cruz again. "He knows. Move fast." She replied one word, "Already." I closed my eyes, leaned back and whispered, "Let it burn." Because when you finally stop running from the truth, you realize destruction isn't the end. It's the start of freedom. The next morning felt off, like the city itself was holding its breath. I woke up to gray skies and a message from Cruz. We made contact with the investors. They're talking. My chest tightened. The dominoes were finally starting to fall. I made coffee, sat by the window, and watched the rain hit the glass. My reflection stared back. Tired eyes, cracked smile, but stronger somehow. For the first time, I didn't look like someone being fooled. I looked like someone dangerous. By noon, the news started spreading. Real estate fraud tied to developer Mason Porter under federal review. His face on TV, mine blurred in the background, just a shadow in his downfall. I thought I'd feel joy, but all I felt was the weight of everything we'd built on lies. Then the doorbell rang. I wasn't expecting anyone. A plain envelope lay on the floor. No address, no name, just a USB inside. My stomach dropped. I plugged it into my laptop. Shaky hands, fast heartbeat. The screen lit up with surveillance footage, my parking garage, my car, and Mason, standing there at 2 a.m., watching, waiting. I slammed the laptop shut. He knew. He'd been there. My phone buzzed. Unknown number again. "Still working with your detective friend?" the voice said. Calm, cold. "Mason, don't..." "Careful, Lo," he cut in. "You're not built for war." Click, silence. Enough fear, enough hiding. I called Cruz. "He's watching me. I have proof." "Get out of your apartment now," she said. "We'll send a unit." But I didn't leave. Not yet. I wanted him to see I wasn't running anymore. I set my phone on record, camera pointed at the door. "You think you're in control, Mason? You have no idea who I've become." Minutes passed. Then headlights flashed outside. It wasn't the cops. It was him. His silhouette through the rain-streaked glass. I unlocked the door and waited. Thunder cracked behind me like a warning. He stepped closer, drenched, eyes cold. "You should have stayed quiet," he said. I smiled faintly. "You should have picked a smarter enemy." Before he could speak, red and blue lights flooded the street. Cops everywhere. Cruz's voice through a megaphone. "Mason Porter, step away from the house." He froze. "You set me up." "No," I said quietly. "You set yourself up." They cuffed him right there on my front porch, rain pouring down like some kind of justice. Cruz walked up after, water dripping from her jacket. "You good?" I nodded. Not yet, but getting there. That night, I sat with a glass of wine, lights off, rain tapping the windows. I replayed everything. The fear, the lies, the moment he realized I wasn't his anymore. For the first time, silence didn't scare me. It sounded like peace trying to find its way back. The next few days felt strange, like I was living in someone else's life. Mason was behind bars, the city moved on, and I was free. Or at least that's what everyone kept telling me. But freedom doesn't feel like fireworks. It feels like silence, heavy, awkward, too damn quiet. Every morning I'd wake up expecting the same fear, the same control, but it wasn't there. Just sunlight through the blinds and the sound of Chicago traffic below. I should have felt peace. Instead, I felt hollow. One night, Cruz called. "He's taking a plea," she said. "Wire fraud, coercion, intimidation. The DA's locking him for years." "Years," I repeated like I was testing the word. "You did it, Lauren," she said softly. "You won." But that word, won, it didn't land right. Because what do you really win after losing yourself? I spent the next week trying to rebuild a life. Signed a lease for a new apartment. Changed my number. Started painting again. My hands shook the first time I touched a brush. I hadn't painted since before Mason. Since before everything. Each stroke felt like memory therapy. Messy, loud, honest. Sometimes I'd just throw colors at the canvas until it looked like chaos. Sometimes I'd just stare and cry without even knowing why. One evening, as I was cleaning up, I found something tucked inside one of my old sketchbooks. A small Polaroid. Me and Mason, smiling in front of a half-built house. His hand on my waist. My eyes bright. For a second, it didn't even look like me. I burned it right there in the sink. Watched the corners curl and blacken until there was nothing left but ash and that faint smell of endings. Later that night, I walked to the pier near the river, the same one where I used to wait for him after work. The air was cool, the city lights reflecting on the water like broken promises. A guy with a guitar played a slow tune nearby. Something about moving on. I stood there, hands in pockets, thinking how peace isn't something you find. It's something you build, piece by piece, after everything's been torn apart. That's when I realized I wasn't haunted by him anymore. I was haunted by the version of myself that let him win for so long. I whispered into the wind. She's gone now. I buried her with him. My phone buzzed. A message from Cruz. If you ever need closure, his sentencing hearing's tomorrow. I stared at it for a while. Then I typed back. I already got mine. Walking back home, I felt the city hum differently that night. Like it was finally on my side again. Revenge gave me back my power, but healing, that gave me back my name. It's funny how peace can start to feel uncomfortable when you've lived too long in chaos. For weeks after Mason's arrest, I kept waiting for something to break. A sound in the dark, a knock on the door, the past sneaking back in, but all I got was silence. And silence can be loud when you're not used to it. I tried to rebuild. Therapy, journaling, long walks by the lake. My therapist kept saying, "Closure isn't about ending the story, Lauren. It's about understanding it." I nodded every time, but deep down I didn't want to understand him. I wanted to forget him. Cruz visited one evening with takeout and a bottle of wine. She tossed her jacket on the chair and said, "You ever gonna start dating again? You've been single longer than the Cubs' winning streak." I laughed. I think I'm good watching the game from the stands for now. But that night, after she left, her words lingered. Because she was right. I'd built walls so high, I'd forgotten how sunlight felt. A week later, I went to a small art exhibit downtown. Nothing fancy, just local painters showing their work. I stood there staring at this one piece, a storm breaking over a quiet city. The artist stood next to me, a guy maybe mid-30s, calm eyes, rough hands. He said, "You like it?" I said, "It looks like it's about to fall apart." He smiled. Or maybe it's finally coming together. Something about that line stayed with me. We talked for hours, about art, music, Chicago winters. He didn't ask what I did, didn't mention Mason. It felt human again. When he left, he said, "You've got that look. Someone who's seen hell but learned to dance in the smoke." I laughed, maybe for real this time. Guess I'm still learning the steps. Later that night, I couldn't sleep. I sat on my balcony, city lights flickering like old memories. My phone buzzed, an email from a random account. No subject, just one line. "You think it's over?" My whole body froze. It wasn't signed. No attachments, just that. I forwarded it to Cruz. She called instantly. "You think it's him?" "I don't know. He's in custody." "Then someone else is watching." "Don't take this lightly, Lauren." I didn't reply. I just stared out into the skyline, my reflection blending with the glass. That's when I realized fear doesn't always vanish. Sometimes it just waits for its cue. The next day, I visited the lake again. Same spot, same cold wind biting my cheeks. But this time I wasn't trembling. I whispered, "If you're still out there, whoever you are, I'm not running anymore." The wind carried it away, and for once, I felt that old fire return, the one that made me survive everything before. Maybe this wasn't just about revenge or healing. Maybe it was about becoming someone new, someone who doesn't break when the storm hits. I walked away from the water, heart steady, steps strong, because deep down I knew round 2 of my life was about to begin. The morning after that email, the air in my apartment felt heavier, like even the walls were listening. I kept replaying that line in my head. "You think it's over?" Whoever sent it knew exactly what it would do to me. Cruz called early. "You up?" "Barely." I pulled the metadata. The email was routed through a VPN. No sender trace. "So, nothing?" "Not nothing. The timestamp was weird. It came from inside Chicago, not from the prison. Mason couldn't have sent it." That chill ran straight through my spine. Then who did? That's what we're gonna find out. I spent the next few days trying to act normal. Grocery runs, painting, morning jogs. But my mind wouldn't stop running laps. Every shadow looked like it was moving. Every sound felt like a warning. Trauma does that. It makes ghosts out of corners. One evening, I stopped by a coffee shop after therapy. I was standing in line when someone behind me said, "Lauren Pierce?" I turned. It was the same guy from the art exhibit, Ethan. He smiled, holding 2 cups. "You still painting storms?" I smirked. "Trying to. Still drawing cities falling apart." He laughed. "Some things never change." We sat, talked, and for a while it felt easy. He had this calm energy that grounded me, the kind of presence that doesn't need to fill silence to make it feel safe. But as he reached into his jacket to grab his phone, I noticed a scar near his wrist. My stomach tightened. Mason had that same scar, from a bar fight years ago. No, I was spiraling again. Paranoia has a cruel way of wearing familiar faces. Still, something inside me whispered check. Later that night, I searched his name. Ethan Miles. No social media. No records, nothing. The next day, Cruz called again. "Lauren, we just got word. Mason's brother filed for visiting rights." "You ever met him?" My heart dropped. "He has a brother? Half-brother? Different last name. Ethan Miles!" The world stopped for a second. My coffee slipped from my hand, shattering across the floor. Cruz kept talking, but her voice sounded miles away. "Ethan, the guy I'd just had coffee with. The one who knew where I lived." I hung up, grabbed my keys, and ran to the door, but then stopped. Running didn't help last time. This time I needed control. I set up my phone camera on the counter, aimed toward the door, and waited. Hours passed. The city went quiet. Midnight came and went. Nothing. Then a soft knock. 3 times, slow. I froze. Another knock, louder this time. Then a voice, smooth, familiar. "Lauren, it's Ethan. We need to talk." My breath caught. I stepped back, keeping my voice calm. "About what?" "About Mason," he said, "and what he didn't tell you." My hand hovered over the doorknob, pulse racing. And that's when it hit me. This wasn't over. It never was. For a few seconds, I just stood there, frozen. Hand hovering over the doorknob, every muscle locked between curiosity and fear. "Lauren?" Ethan's voice came again, softer this time. "Please, I'm not here to hurt you. I just need to explain." Explain? That word did more damage than a threat ever could. I unlocked the chain but didn't open the door fully. Just enough to see his face under the hallway light, tired eyes, sweat on his forehead, hands raised like surrender. "What do you want?" I asked. He swallowed. "You deserve the truth. Mason." He wasn't working alone. My pulse skipped. "What are you talking about?" Ethan looked around like the walls might be wired. "Can I come in?" I hesitated, then stepped aside just enough for him to enter. The air in the room changed, thick, electric, heavy with everything unsaid. He sat down, rubbing his palms. After our dad left, Mason got mixed up with people. Sponsors, gamblers, guys who'd fix fights, launder money through gyms. He owed them bad. You weren't supposed to know. But when you started asking questions, he turned on me, I finished. Ethan nodded slowly. "He wasn't trying to protect you, Lauren. He was protecting himself. They wanted silence. You became the liability." I felt my chest tighten. "So what? You're here to finish what he started?" "No," he said sharply. "I'm here because those same people think you still have something. A hard drive. Emails, evidence. I don't. Doesn't matter. They think you do." I sank into the chair, heart pounding. "Why tell me now?" He met my eyes, and for the first time, I saw it, fear, not for himself but for me. Because they followed me here. The window rattled, faint but real. A car engine idled outside. I grabbed my phone, called Cruz, whispering, "Get a trace on Ethan Miles. Now." She didn't ask questions. "Stay put. I'm sending units." Minutes stretched like hours. Ethan paced, glancing toward the door. "Who are they?" I asked. "Guys Mason owed money to. You went public, made noise. They lost leverage." My throat went dry. "And now they want revenge?" He nodded once. "They think if you disappear, so does the trail." That's when it hit. A soft thud, like boots on the stairwell. Ethan's head snapped toward the door. I whispered, "Is this them?" He mouthed yes. We both moved fast. Lights off, curtains drawn, heart slamming against my ribs. The doorknob rattled once. Then silence. Ethan grabbed my arm, whispering, "You have to trust me." I wanted to laugh. Trust after everything? But right now, trust was all I had left. We slipped out the back exit into the alley, the cold Chicago air cutting through the panic. He led the way, eyes scanning every corner. Sirens wailed somewhere in the distance. Maybe Cruz's people. Maybe not. We turned the corner, headlights flashed. A black SUV, engine running, tinted windows. Ethan whispered, "That's them." And right there, under the glow of the streetlight, I realized revenge was never over. It just changes shape. The night air sliced through me like glass as we ran down that alley. My breath sharp, heart drumming against my ribs. Ethan's hand gripped my arm, pulling me behind a dumpster just as the SUV's door opened. Two men stepped out, dressed in black, moving slow, deliberate. The kind of calm that only comes from men who've done this before. "Stay low," Ethan whispered. "Who are they?" "People Mason owed," he muttered. "But now they want what you have, or think you have." The SUV's headlights swept across the alley, grazing the walls. I held my breath. They stopped listening. Then one of them called out, "Lauren Pierce, we just want to talk." "Yeah, right." Ethan pressed a finger to his lips, motioning me back. We slipped through the side gate, into another narrow street lined with flickering neon signs and rain-slick pavement. Chicago looked different at night, meaner, quieter, like it knew how to hide secrets. We ducked into an old laundromat. The fluorescent lights hummed weakly. Ethan locked the back door and leaned against it, breathing hard. I turned to him. "You knew this was coming, didn't you?" He didn't deny it. "They've been watching you for weeks. I thought I could protect you before it got this far." I laughed bitterly. "By stalking me? By pretending to be some random artist at an exhibit?" He winced. "I didn't plan that. I just wanted to see who you'd become. Mason talked about you before." "Don't," my voice cracked. "You don't get to say his name." The silence that followed felt heavier than the gunmetal air outside. He finally said, "They won't stop, Lauren. Not until they think the trail's dead. So what do you suggest?" His eyes met mine, desperate, searching. "You disappear. Tonight." I stepped closer, shaking my head. "No, I ran once. I hid." I let him own my silence. "I'm not doing that again." Outside, the faint rumble of engines echoed. Ethan peeked through the blinds. "They found us." He turned to me, voice low. "You trust me?" "Not even a little," I said. "But I trust fear, and fear says we're out of time." We sprinted through the back exit again, cutting through an alley that opened to the Riverwalk. Rain started falling, light, cold, the kind that turns breath into smoke. The SUV screeched around the corner, tires slicing puddles. Ethan yelled, "Run!" We darted toward the bridge. My shoes slipped on the wet metal as headlights burned across my back. Then, a sound that split the night. A gunshot. Ethan stumbled, grabbing his side. I screamed, catching him before he hit the ground. Blood. Not much, but enough to make my hands tremble. He looked up at me, voice ragged. "They won't stop, Lauren. You end it, or it ends you." I pressed my hand against his wound, heart in my throat. "Stay with me, Ethan." Sirens wailed again, closer this time. The SUV peeled away. I looked down at him, pale, shaking, eyes fading into the dark. And right there, under that Chicago rain, I finally understood. Revenge doesn't just take lives, it trades souls. The alley reeked of oil and rain, neon signs flickering off puddles like broken mirrors. Ethan grabbed my hand, whispering, "This way." We ran through the narrow street, shoes splashing water, lungs burning. Behind us, the SUV doors slammed, two silhouettes following fast. "Ethan, stop!" I hissed. "They'll hear us." They already did. We ducked into a side lot behind an old boxing gym. Half-burned sign. Flickering light. Empty inside except for the smell of dust and sweat. Ethan locked the back door, chest heaving. "They won't wait long," he said. "So what's your plan?" I asked. He pulled out a flash drive. Everything Mason did. Every transaction, every payment. I took copies before he got caught. My eyes widened. "You had it this whole time?" "I was trying to protect you," he said. But once they knew I had it, they came after me too. Before I could answer, a voice echoed from outside. "Ethan, come out, man." "You don't want to make this messy." I froze. Ethan went pale. "That's them." I grabbed a metal bar from the floor, hand shaking but steady enough. "If they come in, we don't run." He nodded, swallowing hard. "Guess fighting's genetic." The door burst open. Two men stepped in, black coats, Cold eyes, guns drawn. One smirked. You really thought you could outsmart us, sweetheart. I stepped forward, keeping my voice calm. You came for what Mason owed, right? Fine, but you're not leaving with me. They left, until red-blue lights flashed through the cracked window. Sirens screamed closer. Ethan whispered, Cruz. The taller man cursed, pointing his gun at Ethan. I didn't think. I swung. The metal bar hit his wrist. Gun dropped. Shot fired wild. Glass shattered. Chaos exploding in seconds. Police stormed in, shouting commands. Within moments, the men were on the ground, cuffed and cursing. Cruz ran in, breathless. Lauren, you good? I nodded, barely holding it together. Yeah, I'm done running. Outside, the cold air hit like freedom. Ethan handed me the flash drive. It's yours now. I looked at it, small, silver, heavy with everything I'd survived. Then I handed it to Cruz. Let the truth handle itself. Ethan looked at me, eyes tired but soft. You could have left me in there. I smiled faintly. Guess redemption's genetic too. A week later, headlines broke. Illegal UFC ring exposed. Names dropped. Arrests made. And for the first time in years, my name wasn't buried under someone else's sin. One night I walked along the Chicago River, lights reflecting off the water-like stars that finally stayed still. I pulled out my phone, opened my notes and typed, Revenge isn't fire, it's release. You don't burn them. You stop letting them burn you. I saved it, closed my phone, and breathed in the night. No cameras. No noise, just me, Lauren Pierce, alive, unafraid, and finally free.